Only 9 rounds to the names of Red Devils. That's enough for a victory and then 2 extra rounds. That's not good enough against your opponents. So, where are we going to play? Let's bring that up.
Yeah, it's over 3 matches.
It's something you wanted to say. Yeah, 3 rounds per match.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
So where are we going to play? About to find out.
Border.
It's going to be Border.
Back to Border we go.
All right.
So far the story today and the story in Latin America, because if you go back to Playday number 3, let me just gesture towards my notebook. Thatcher was banned in every single matchup. We are now 6 matches in a row.
Oh, will you look at that?
I actually might have casted Playday number 2 of Latin America.
Can we ask them nicely not to ban Thatcher? Thank you.
Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 Latin America matches in a row with Thatcher being banned. 9! Every single one since the start of Playday number 2. Playday number 2 was Thermite and Nomad who were banned. But since then, it has been 9 matches in a row. The same number of matches as rounds that Red Devils have won without Thatcher. And we'll see if it'll happen again. We have a community vote, though. Wonder what you think about this one. 2 teams, INTZ, who didn't have the hottest start to 2019, versus Red Devils. And if we have the community vote, we can bring it up for you, and we can go through who you think's going to win. And imagine it's probably INTZ. I'm actually surprised with how high Red Devils is, given the fact that they have not looked like the strongest team so far this season.
I mean, INTZ also have kind of a reputation to work past, I would say, is the way I'm going to put it. In that they kind of shared, they're shoulder to shoulder with Red Devils, I think, in terms of standing in the Latin American region for most of these seasons. And they do need to work past that, though. In recent times, INTZ have been doing much better. They did get 7-0 at the beginning of the season, but following that, again, toe-to-toe with Liquid, beating Immortals straight up in a 7-0, that says a lot. That's a big, hey, look at me, I can compete with the best of them. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you to an extent. Kind of a higher percentage for Red Devils than you would expect, but then again, if you haven't been really keeping track of the scene in the recent going-ons, then I'm not terribly surprised.
Red Devils lost to Black Dragons 4-7 last Playday, and of course Black Dragons sit in 6th. INTZ sits in 5th, so presumably Red Devils should be able to compete about the same level. Now, the problem with Red Devils losing the way they have is that the only team that is right above them is Immortals, who just drew against Team Liquid. You don't have a lot of teams that you can reliably win against, right? If you're in last place, you have to be able to try to beat the teams that are just above you or a little bit above you, unless you bring out some really zany strategies and try to catch the front runners off guard, which I don't really think has happened so far. It was a 3-7 loss to Nip and a 2-7 loss to FaZe. And obviously Red Devils is still trying to get used to the fact that VNX is off the roster. He shouldered so much of the weight on attack and defense. He was usually top fragging every single game, and it's been Cypress who's come in to replace him. But I mean, at the same time, Cypress hasn't looked like VNX yet, but to be fair, VNX didn't look like VNX until the second half of the season, so there's still lots of time to go. The problem is, as we load up the map and we get into match number 3 between INTZ and Red Devils, is that Red Devils are running out of runway very, very quickly. So, where will they go from here? And what will INTZ do? Well, Red Devils will be starting on defense first, and if they ban a Thatcher, then that will give them quite a distinct advantage. That is what we have seen so far today, and has led to, I don't want to say repetitive gameplay, but it definitely tends to allow rounds to play out in the exact same manner.
Over and over and over again.
Yes.
And the attackers are the ones who are forced to try and come up with something new to throw at the enemy every single round. That is what we've been seeing be the case for a long time now, and it's going to be a Thatcher.
And 10 games in a row, it's a Thatcher ban.
So, all right. Well, on Border, with a Thatcher ban, is going to make the gameplay probably much the same as what we saw in the last match, so you can kind of, predict that and expect it going into this one. Oh, wow. Oh, doubling down.
That makes things really tough for the attackers.
Doubling down. That's like that's a heavy hit there to attack. Mira gets banned, but that's expected. You would also expect an Echo here.
Unless we see something like a Kaid ban or something even equally challenging. Or Maestro.
Okay. I mean, a little bit of a curveball out of nowhere, a Maestro.
This is fascinating to me that Thermite is getting banned, because what we're likely going to see now on Border is going to be Hibana Maverick every single round. And the ways in just got even harder. I mean, at least once you got rid of the gadgets that were stopping you from entering, you still had the Thermite to blow a really big hole in whatever you need. You don't have that at your disposal this time. And in fact, I'm assuming that this Lion here is probably going to be 6-picked off of from VNX. Maybe not. He's locking it in. It's actually going to be the Hibana 6-picked off to a Maverick. So INTZ's singular hard breacher up against a Bandit and a Mute will be a Maverick.
I will say this. The Thermite ban is not crazy. What would have been crazy would be a Maverick ban. If you get rid of Maverick and Thatcher, that would have been insanity on Border. With a Maverick and a Hibana, you can work around these two bans. It just, the thing is, it's going to take a lot of time. That's the big standout here. That's the main takeaway from these bans that we're looking at. The last match, we didn't even have the Thermite ban, and the reoccurring trend was just because of just the Thatcher ban, it took the attacking team more than half of the round usually to get open any wall that they wanted open. The attacks just slow down, like they're trying to wade through molasses, and it's really different.
That's a word for it.
Well, we'll see what INTZ is going to do here on their attacking half, as they have chosen to bring no true hard breachers. They're going to bring a hybrid in the Maverick, but it's definitely one of those ones that, again, a lot of teams are becoming more proficient at Maverick tricking walls, and it'll be the focus for INTZ. They have the Zofia and the Sledge to open up the soft wall after or before the Maverick tricking. So, there's definitely options here for INTZ.
One thing that I see, especially in conjunction with the Lion, who was not 6-pick off of, is that I'm going to guess that these are going to be faster rounds. You're going to realize that your hard destruction is not going to be the main aim here. So what do? Well, you started off big with Zion from Red Devils getting the very first kill onto Drunks, and down goes IQ, who looks the wrong way. Zion was next in line of attack. He shoots out the drone as his teammate Mighty takes out Duds. So there you go. 2 members of INTZ felled immediately.
C4 set up here from Velvet. He's waiting for someone to be on the east stairs. You can see how he's lining it up. It's well practiced, well versed, and as soon as he hears someone up there, he will probably go for this toss and should be a free kill on Attacked, who is setting up his own grenade. So it's going to be a battle of the explosives over the arch, and the grenade goes off. The C4 does not. Maverick tricking begins. The middle panel, interesting.
Would you even call this Maverick tricking if you don't have any other hard breachers? You're just going to rely on the Sledge here. Oh, goodbye! No! Boar gets away with 20 HP.
Huh.
And he goes right back to it.
Wish I could have seen where that landed, but yeah, kind of impressive that Boar survived. I know, I'd still call it Maverick tricking.
Quite the tradesman here. I understand what Maverick tricking is. I'm just saying, I guess because there's still soft destruction if they really need it.
Yeah.
The middle panel is proving to be a little bit too difficult for INTZ to get through. Nobody from Red Devils has a single scratch on them, and not only are they currently holding onto a flawless round, but also flawless the amount of HP they have. Or will go back to work and gets very close to being able to take the sheet metal off.
There you go. I think he got it. So that'll be Intact, who has to open up that wall now. Still presence at east stairs for Red Devils at the very bottom. And Intact is about to be flanked, whether he knows it or not. Seems not so far, and it will be not, in fact, as Zion gets another 2 kills. So that's 3 for him in the round, and VNX, the last alive, will be finished off by Abru. And Red Devils take a really, just a great round, a flawless one. It just
Expect this from the defense, though, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the question is, will INTZ get psyched out by the fact that they are about to very likely lose 5 at, I would expect, minimal of these next 6 rounds?
Yeah, of however many
defensive rounds for Red Devils.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if INTZ can transition into the second half with a clear conscience and maybe 1 round, then, yeah, you can definitely expect INTZ to be able to surge back and bring us a draw. I'm going to go to Tellers next. That last round mostly came down to not being able to take control of Office, and the reason they could take control of Office is because they struggled to get past the one hard wall triple inside of Office.
Yeah, they really took up almost no space on the map.
And the East control was really... How does that happen? Like, how do they forget how to hold on to East just because they couldn't open up triple wall?
Right.
That's a little bit puzzling. Zion managed to get 3 kills from there. Well, following that, there wasn't really a whole lot that INTZ could do. And, yeah, they fizzled out. Red DevilS going to try and defend Tellers. Again, this is going to come down to top 4 control. Mostly has to do with that triple wall again. Maverick will likely sprint to the triple wall, or hopefully for INTZ's sake, will sprint to the triple wall to get it open as early as possible because, wow, that's important.
Yeah, I would have, like you said, I'd imagine you need to be quick to the punch here. And INTZ, who struggled to really be able to do anything, was challenging. So
they're going to get control of East stairs early on. I think that's going to be their focus. So they could deny the rotation from Zion again. Probably the right call. Potentially a C4 setting up here from Mighty. We'll get it up.
Exactly correct, but it's going to get shot immediately from the IQ, so whoopsies.
A little bit of a misplay there from Red DevilS. Some utility wasted thanks to Drunks' effort.
Yeah, not exactly the best play there from Mighty to do that. I suspect he was trying to catch somebody above him, but I mean, it was all for naught. Also, what was most interesting was how little Lion was effectively utilized in the previous round.
Oh, that's true.
He was quite absent from most of the fracas, I think, as you could call it, and
yeah.
I was a little surprised because you know how much he can dominate and loom large over any team. Now, Drunks will get the lead-off kill. He was the first casualty last time, taken out at the top of East Stairs, but he will continue on. Takes out Zion, who you'd seen playing on that passport wall just next to Mighty.
Who got the first kill in the last round. Now the first casualty. A little bit of a trade.
How funny that works.
Yay. Different setup there on the C4 at the top of East Stairs, and the castle barricade that holds off long will be opened up. So now INTZ have access to offices, which is also important on an attack for Tellers. But hey, look at that, 2 minutes. 2 minutes used. There's an E1D. And will accomplish very little, but actually no, correction accomplishes quite a lot as Mighty goes down at the top of metal. He can be recovered, but he will be out of play for the next few seconds. Office control here for INTZ. They're going to be able to open up vertically.
And they're going to freeze them in place a second time. So I see exactly what INTZ is trying to do, is they're just trying to hold them all in place while they just continuously take away these walls. This is a good way to give some momentum back to the attackers. You know how Lion is capable of enabling these rush kind of strats? And while so far they've been utilized to pretty good effect. Still got 1 EOD left on that Lion 2. Boar's taken quite a bit of damage, but so has Mighty. And we're at a bit of a stalemate. 30 seconds to go. Lots of punch holes, and Red DevilS are all largely prone, just watching a couple different areas. Down goes a Brew to Duds, who will continue on. Cypress holding the cross from Passport. He's going to be joined by Mighty, who will now freeze as well. They're stacked on top of one another. One body will be downed inside of the site, and looking for another who will just pass by the bookshelf. Heading towards that half wall, but Drunk so immediately silenced by Velvet, who's all alone, but he's a man on a mission. He'll find Duds, and there's nobody to plant that diffuser. I don't know if they'd stepped in goo mines or if it had been dropped somewhere else, but Red DevilS winning a war of attrition on that one, and the clock being their greatest ally on their second round.
Okay, so, well, that round was the best attack we've seen so far through this match, of course. We've only seen 2 early on. But the execution itself was done decently well. Red DevilS fell back a little bit too early off of Office. Unnecessary. The triple wall pressure was not that substantial, so I'm surprised by that play from Red DevilS. Another thing for Red DevilS is they played not well, in that they allowed Zion to be picked off early. Didn't see how that happened, so it's hard to critique, but still an early pick for INTZ, which is good for INTZ, bad for Red DevilS. The more notable kill would be the Kaid sitting inside of Tellers. Completely unnecessary. There's no reason for him to be there. Pretty much a free pick for his opponents, and following that, INTZ had a very, very decided strong man advantage. He could have probably easily turned that into a win, but the time. And why was there so little time, you may ask? Well, because Thatcher's banned.
It really is that reductive.
It's so
basic.
Yeah, but
And Thatcher.
these teams
take a while.
are struggling with the lack of a Thatcher. And it's weird. It's the universal for LATAM.
Right, but you expect most of these teams know that there's going to be one off of the board, right?
Right.
They anticipate that to some extent.
And see, that's the thing is like they are anticipating it. Obviously, it's clearly meta in Latin America. But the thing that really puzzles is throwing me through a loop here is that they are bringing their counter, and their counter is not adequate. And the counter to there not being a Thatcher is, hey, bring a Maverick and Maverick trick every wall. But again, that is not adequate. That is not leaving you with enough time in each round to properly execute, and it is costing everyone on attack. The C4 from Mighty is going to not sail far enough, and he'll lose a lot of HP for that attempt.
Good try. He had the camera at his disposal, and, well, 20 HP or so is basically the same as a reset, but he's going to run to safety, and, hey, medic! DevilS will be able to give him a little bit of HP, and then 2 stim pistols utilized there to give the Valkyrie back to full HP. So it was effectively just a tiny bit of utility for the Doc with 1 stim pistol left, who might selfishly be used for himself to keep himself from being finished off if he gets downed.
Something interesting here is that ReD DevilS are not going to try and defend ventilation just yet. They're going for customs and tellers and going to stay away from that typical secondary site for most teams. Zion downed. Again, going to be the likely first casualty here, as he'll be finished off by Drunks. No reinforcements in office. Odd that there's no reinforcements in office, considering the current state of the Latin American meta. You'd expect that to support the roamers. The EE1D is going to support INTZ quite a lot on their take here, and it's looking like the first successful attack round, as it's just a cleanup here for INTZ. VNX, a lot of work there alongside Drunks, and Abreu, he's going to have to work some magic if he wants to take this round home for his team.
It's going to be a really tough predicament to find himself out of. I don't know what he's going to do to work his way out of essentially a box here. He turns his back, expecting somebody to maybe be an armory, but he doesn't really know. He's not going to get past Dud. It's a flawless round for INTZ.
Oh.
And there you go. The attackers are capable of indeed winning one. And they needed it. They really did need it.
Yeah, they did need it. But I got to say, I think that the defense left themselves a little bit open to that, the way that they were playing. For example, the roam by Office, I would imagine that it would be much more effective if there were reinforcements on triple wall, because then the Sledge is not going to be able to open up that wall. The IQ is not going to be able to pressure Zion inside of Office, and then he can hold out for probably, what, 40 more seconds? That's what we've been seeing the trend go. I mean, like, if the only way to open up the wall is the Maverick, because the Habana's not being brought, and Thermite and Thatcher both are banned, then, yeah, reinforce to support your roamers, for sure. I mean, why not?
Especially when there's a Lion. Especially when there's a Lion. And you know that the roamers are the people who are going to be most effective by that.
Right, exactly. And reinforcements right now seem to be the hardest thing for these teams to deal with, for anyone to deal with the Thatcher ban. So put your reinforcements in a position where they're going to assist the roamers and help delay the round. Apart from that, though, the people playing inside of CCTV as well, who I wouldn't even call roamers. Those are more anchors, extended anchors, you could say, because you have to hold CCTV to hold customs. Those players also struggle to hold on to their positions, and yeah, that also they did. There's nowhere to reinforce to support them, to the extent where it will matter. So that one's just more ReD DevilS losing their fights.
Yeah, you call it a significant challenge, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, they presented that challenge to themselves when they went to customs.
I wonder why we haven't seen ReD DevilS go towards that ventilation workshop site. You mentioned that in the last round, and I think it's worth kind of picking at for a second here, because while you go to bathroom and customs, and teams usually try to avoid that as much as you avoid going to the dentist for, say, a root canal, even though you need it. In this case, most defenders, if they're successful in the first 2 sites, need to go somewhere else, and as much as they may dread it, run from it, well, Destiny still arrives. In this case, it's bathroom and customs, and no ventilation workshop. You think that's just because there's a Thermite ban, a Thatcher ban, they're worried about possibly losing control of bathroom? The speculation.
I think it's preference. That'd be my guess. If you want my honest guess, I think it's they don't like.
I mean, I do want your honest guess, Michael.
Yeah, I think that ReD DevilS.
Please don't lie to me.
I think that they really just don't like.
Please don't lie to us.
I won't lie to them.
Anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being honest.
Yeah, I just think that they don't like defending ventilation.
It's interesting, though, because it tends to be an easier site to defend than customs and bathrooms. And I mean, you look at it, right? And that bathroom site, that INTZ realistically should have won that because they had, what, a 3v1 and they couldn't get the diffuser down in time. They managed to win customs. So this very easily could have been a gamble from Red DevilS to lose these two sites. And it was Red DevilS, if I remember correctly, who also happened to go to bar stock. Now, just as Zion gets picked back up, you're going to have an EOD go off, and the rest of INTZ will circle around as there's been some damage done to Red DevilS. But other than Zion, who's now finished off, you're the V308, just doing quite a bit of damage. VNX has a body exactly to his right. He gets hit with a yokai drone, and there's a bro to take out Drunks. And he's got this stand right now inside of offices.
Oh, the Maverick trying to open up some murder holes here to deal with this Kaid. Tactics can take down Mighty. So INTZ are still looking pretty lethal here on this attack, but Duds gets punished as he attempts to push into the site by a radio. Or pardon me, not site. It feels like the site with the amount of fights we've been having by Office. But yeah, inside of Office itself, on the roamers, Cypress is on low HP, so that is going to be an advantage there for INTZ in this 3 versus 3. And there should still be one EE, one D left.
It looks like there's one yokai up that's positioned over on the armory side, but there was one in office that was supporting the Kaid of a bro who's now made it down to the main stairs and will continue to push back. He'll be stopped for the time being. He might have a C4 at his disposal. Oh, beheading VNX. Velvet swings wide. Cypress falls, and there goes Velvet. So it's a bro who's offside. He'll toss up the C4, but there's nobody nearby in Fountain. It'll blow up a chunk of the wall, and that will be the only damage it will do. Having to go through the metal detectors and lighting up the body of the Lion, Ibrew's position will be given away, and now he'll try to go on in. The Maverick will swing off of the plant, and wherever Intact is could hold the cross very effectively, but Boar will need to get this plant down at some point. He'll retreat to Armory. Waiting to see if the Kaid will be able to push on up at times. He looks around the A-bomb. He's got a couple different angles to go with. This DMR shotgun combo. Oh, it does so much damage, and it'll just eliminate Boar, but Intact is there. And INTZ will take their second round in a row.
So, INTZ, the very first team, well, no, sorry, the second team today to win 2 attacking rounds of our 3 matches. Ninjas of Pajamas, yep, round of applause, everybody. If they get one more attacking round, they will set records for the day, having been the only team to get...
Children will be told this story.
Of INTZ, when they won 3 attacking rounds on... I guess it doesn't matter which map.
I mean, you have to give some credit to INTZ, though, playing this way, because Thermite is banned, and it was INTZ who banned it. So I assume INTZ knew that there was going to be a Thatcher ban. They seem to be well prepared for this. Now, not that the other teams weren't prepared, but clearly the strategy being brought from INTZ is paralyze the defenders. You know they're going to be playing aggressively on the areas that they know you can't push through as an attacker. You know that as with the Maverick or a Hibana, that it's going to be slower going. Because of this, you can be closer to the wall. You can play closer to doorways because the avenues to get in for attackers are severely restricted. In this case, the best counter to that is Lion. Dokkaebi also works quite effectively. Jackal can work in a pinch if you need, but in this case, Lion has probably the strongest gadget for being able to keep people at bay. And as much as we love to say that Lion dominated the meta for so long, he is a very genuine and bona fide counter to what we're seeing here from this Thatcher play. Or
Thatcher ban, the lack of a Thatcher ban.
I mean, it is technically the play. You were just...
Yeah.
You were banning him.
So I was actually mentioning to Parker during the break, and this is still my opinion. Yeah, what we've been seeing with this Thatcher being banned in Latin America is it reminds me a lot of the Lion meta that we used to have in terms of to watch and to cast. And yeah, hey, Lion actually turns out to be the alleviation to said problem. That's... Wow, that is interesting.
It's like the inverse. The Thatcher ban dominates every facet of the attack and makes it so that the attackers are much slower and rounds take a lot longer, whereas Lion is the complete opposite. He dominates so much of the attack that he makes it for defenders a brutal time to defend and increases the speed of the attacks. He's the complete reverse and opposite, and it goes together so nicely. And like you said, who'd have thunk that it would be Lion that would be able to break the slowness and sluggishness that we saw from these Thatcher bans?
I mean, it's reading into it well, to be honest. Instead of trying to confront the problem with, which is the Thatcher ban, with a solution such as, okay, we're just going to try and Maverick all of the walls, which they will do, of course, but instead of it being the center of their attack, they're actually just saying, hey, we'll take fights, and we'll take fights with an advantage because we have line. It's sensible if you're INTZ. I can't disagree with their logic, but it is definitely a roundabout way of playing Siege that we haven't seen in a long time because it hasn't been necessary. Red Devils just waiting patiently, as they should in this situation. The triple wall reinforcement did go up this time, and it is going to slow down INTZ. You will note that there is half of the round already transpired thanks to what we've seen so far today and what we're going to continue to see. The wall, though, is opened up.
But you got to give some credit to INTZ. Look at how far back they've pushed Red Devils into the site.
I mean, yeah, credit, sure, but...
I think INTZ is actually the team that has been best suited to deal with this type of play, and now...
Can't disagree.
Here you go. There's a minute to go, and first EOD is going to go out, assisting the rest of the team as the call will come, as VNX is dedicated to flank watch down below. Got Intact priming a frag grenade. Might be an ADS, and exactly, it will catch the frag grenade. The last one for Intact, so no explosives on the other side of the wall. Down goes a bandit battery to keep them out from being able to just waltz on in, but Intact and Duds will pick up a double. You've dropped Intact, but in hopes of there being no refrag or repush from Red Devils, there goes another EOD. And RDS will stay completely silent. Beautiful shot onto Drunks there as Velvet will pick up kill number 2. He's a wanted man inside a B bomb site, but will anybody be able to catch the bounty? That is the real question. You burn the ADSs, or at least think that you did. It'll catch one of the Zofia lifelines, and now it'll be up to VNX to possibly walk on in. Duds finds kill number 2, and the ability to get the plant down from Boar will require some good coverage. The Yokai drones not being able to get there in time. You're running out of time, 1 second left, but it's a successful plant. You lose the Yokai drone anyway. INTZ tantalizingly close to being able to take 3 rounds. VNX catches Velvet on the rotate, and Cypress in a 1v3. Really difficult to imagine Red Devils being able to get out of this one alive. And playing around the corner, sees the head of the Zofia. Not quite, but the Zofia sees the head of you. And that's 3 rounds in a row on attack for INTZ, despite what we've seen out of the Thatcher bands today. And as stale or as linear, or whatever word you want to use to describe it, you can't say that this hasn't been an exciting and interesting matchup.
So that is the first team for the day to get 3 attacking rounds pulled off. 3 successful.
Nip got 2. Team Liquid got 1.
And
Mortals got 1. And here we are.
INTZ with 3. And Nip's opponent, T1, did not get a single successful attacking round. So we just left them off there. But, yeah, so because INTZ have managed to get 3 attacking round victories, I find it really hard to believe that if, like, even if this goes 3-3, I find it really hard to believe that if we go to the half and INTZ go into defense, that Red Devils are going to be able to bring this back. Like, I just don't see it happening. The way that this is, the way that from what we've seen so far in this match, I cannot imagine.
Counterpoint, it was Red Devils who banned Thatcher, so they likely are understanding what it's going to mean and how to play around it, unless the single purpose was, hey, we're going to win a lot of defenses and then lose our attacks.
But at the same time, it was INTZ who banned Thermite, so they're also well aware. They have to be leaning into this very heavily. And what you were actually the one who brought it up earlier when you were mentioning how, yeah, INTZ are very prepared for this what seems to be an eventuality in the Thatcher ban. And they're leaning into it heavier. And they're well practiced in dealing with it. So, I mean, maybe Red Devils will be practiced enough to stand up like how we're seeing INTZ do right now. However, I don't necessarily expect it. Just on I guess from the gameplay that we're seeing from both teams right now. Because, I mean, Red Devils are actually in a great position a lot of these rounds that they're losing. Though defenses, the way they've been setting up, it's pretty much the same as what we've been seeing from other teams, but when it comes to the actual gunfights and denial, Red Devils are a step behind all the other teams we've been seeing play today on defense.
The best that we've seen out of Red Devils on defense was when they were so aggressive, and they took the fights to INTZ when they weren't expecting it. And not anticipating that, it's very challenging, and obviously INTZ weren't able to land their shots on operators that they didn't expect to be looming in different corners of the map. But since then, Red Devils have been kind of knocked on their heels, and I think a big part of that is that INTZ's drone work and their roam clear has been much better. They significantly stepped up their game. And that's where it happens in the early part of a map, within the first minute to a minute and a half before you get into the mid-round, and then you loom towards the execute, the final 30 to 40 seconds. INTZ have excelled at the start to be able to make quick work of whatever obstacle they find in their way. And they continue to do so. It's about a minute in so far, and INTZ will start to work on the office wall. I don't know if Velvet is aware that they are losing the wall in front of him as he's watching the skylight above. And there goes the metal reinforcement.
Yeah, so well practiced on that, but again, takes half the round, so that's definitely a big time commitment there for INTZ. They have been more efficient than every other team, though, I think, today. You could safely say, especially getting that triple wall open. So props to INTZ for that. If, you know, they're keeping an extra 10, 20 seconds on the line, and I think that's really that's definitely helping them when they go for the actual take into the site.
Red Devils have also had 2 different members now peel off of where they were playing, so if they've been droned out, well, it's going to be not exactly the best way for INTZ to go forward. Still, they find Abru for the time being, and VNX has another body downstairs. Intact is taking quite a bit of damage, but he'll still continue to tick. Zion pushes back up to metal detectors, watching that ventilation window. He'll rotate into small office while Crosshair's being held, possibly to try and catch anybody from Red Devils looking the wrong way. And one of them will be Velvet. And there's Drunks to remove him from action, remove him from play. Burning another EOD with 40 seconds left. Duds will miss out on the shot on Cypress, looking the wrong way, and that looks like easy work for the Echo, but then immediately traded out by Mighty down below as VNX was in the hunt for anybody playing off-site. Zion getting flashed, knows he has to go somewhere, and he'll stop right now on the fountain wall. This might be the undoing, but he gets shot out, he gets discovered, and Cypress, once again in a 1v4. This is dire straits, the same word I used prior. 10 seconds left. Does he have a yokai available? He might be utility deprived. He'll go on, and he actually sees it, but it's not going to be able to get there in time. He knows that he's effectively useless, so he'll have to take the fight to the Sledge, who he'll down in the process. But Boar has the doorway, and INTZ will win their attack here on Border 4-2 without the diffuser down.
It's a good attack there, and not a whole lot to show on the side of Red Devils. You could see they were setting up a lot of different potential counters, and they weren't successful in any of those attempts. The C4 from below was faulty. The yokai drones were being countered directly by the IQ. I mean, because obviously everything was kind of... Actually, did they? They didn't bring one, did they?
They had an IQ almost every single round. It was in the hands of Drunks running the AUG, and he was very effective at doing gadget denial.
I don't know how I forgot about that, because you're right, because Drunks was fragging out unbelievably well. Yeah, again, yokai drone getting countered by the IQ. The extra 15 seconds is something I really want to point out, because at the end there is a 1 versus 5, and Cypress was sitting all the way back in Arsenal, 15 seconds on the clock. The fact that INTZ are getting that triple wall open 15 seconds faster than most other teams we've been seeing so far today, it's the edge that they have. I mean, and it's also the fact that they're just, honestly, they're winning their fights when they get to them. They are well suited to handling all of the positions that Red Devils are throwing at them.
INTZ seemed like a well-oiled machine on a lot of those attacks. And the first 2 rounds were Red Devils reacting accordingly. Now, I think you can also argue that that bathroom take from Red Devils really could have gone in favor of INTZ because of the fact that there was 1 member of Red Devils left. It was just, I don't know. It was interesting to watch it play out the way that it did. And now you have an opportunity to see, is INTZ as formidable on defense, and are Red Devils going to be stronger on their attacks? Because it's much harder to be as coordinated on attack in the same way that you can on defense. And given the way that these bans played out, you've got to imagine that Red Devils are probably well suited to deal with the fact that there's a Thatcher ban, since they're the one who banned it. But can they work around the Thermite ban? INTZ had no problem dancing around that operator being out of action. The question is going to come down to, can Red Devils do the same? Immediately, both Zion as well as Duds had engaged in a bit of firefights, maybe not to each other necessarily, but the Jaeger lost a tiny tick of HP, and Zion lost roughly half. There's no Maverick being brought here, so we're going to see something that we saw out of Immortals, interestingly enough. It's going to be a completely different ball game with lots of soft destruction, and then, of course, the denial, both in terms of area and gadgets.
Reloading.
Lots of denial, like you said. And the setup overall, I think, really solid for INTZ in terms of operator selection. You've got info, like you said, denial, and with the way that the attack has to... You know what's really interesting? There's no Maverick for Red Devils.
Yep. No Maverick available. And of course, if Boar is able to keep those yokai drones positioned in such a way that Abru can't get to them, unlike what we saw when Red Devils was on defense, then the plant denial from INTZ is going to skyrocket. Now, you don't bring a Maverick, but you bring a Twitch. Okay, you'll be able to open up the middle panel here of the office wall, and that will be ReD DevilS being able to get it with Velvet. Unfortunately, losing out to the Electroclaw. So not only does Intact absolutely shred through Abrew, but then also gets the exothermic charges. Hard-pressed to see how ReD DevilS is going to be able to work, given the fact these Electroclaws are going to be doing their best breach denial. But the Electroclaw actually misses its mark. So the wall will be forfeited, conceded for the time being. You've got the Valkyrie as well as the Kaid sitting next to each other, arm in arm. They're going to possibly provoke a fight at some point, and it looks like it'll be Velvet who will be the point man to do that.
So Abrew being eliminated early on means the yokai drones inside of Archives, when eventually this does get to the site, if it does, will be, well, they will persist, and they will likely influence the round in many ways. INTZ, though, still have 2 roamers inside of Office, so I don't even know if ReD DevilS are going to get there. With 30 seconds left, they still haven't got the wall open. Velvet's going to take down Attack, so there is some progress being made here, but it's still... I mean, there's 25 seconds, so what are ReD DevilS going to do? They have to sprint to get to the site at this point, and in the middle of that sprint, they will likely be mowed down by their opponents. Downstairs, Mighty's not going to be able to get anywhere, as DevilS is on the roam. Cypress will eliminate VNX. He's the roamer, the last one inside of Office. Diffuser needs to go down, though, and here we go. It is being planted. The yokai drone's possibly still in play here for Boar, and yes, there's the denial. DevilS gets another one onto Zion as he starts retaking, and 0-0-0. Yokai drone still in play. The defenders will win the round as DevilS kills the planter.
Take matters into your own hands, why don't you? It was a great round from DevilS, who played downstairs, did what he needed to do, wasted time, wasted utility, got the kill, got back to site, and then was integral in the plant. Alongside, of course, the yokai. So, where do you go? Well, this workshop tellers has not been very popular. We're going to go to bathroom. Alrighty then. Once again, we have not seen a single ventilation workshop downstairs. Bathroom tellers it is, and yeah, it will be fascinating to watch the way that INTZ is going to work through this, because they have seemed to get progressively more comfortable both on attack and on defense the longer this matchup has gone on. Now, we've only seen 1 round of them on defense, so this trend could break. They're going to be bringing a very similar setup to what we saw from ReD DevilS, involving the castle on the bottom floor, of course holding the offices upstairs quite aggressively. That's why you've got the Kaid in play. You're going to substitute the Bandit for a Smoke, because you want to have some kind of plant denial. You don't need the Echo, so his 100% influence rate is actually gone.
Oh, wow. Hey, look at that.
I can't remember if he was ran every single round by ReD DevilS, but now we have
we
have a definite answer now that down below 100%. He had a 90% ban rate and a 10% pick rate.
Making changes.
Making changes.
Speaking of Maverick, ReD DevilS have decided to bring him.
Yes, and I think they needed it. They've also brought the Gridlock as well, maybe to try to cut down on the flanks, because they know that that was part of their Achilles heel in that previous round. They were very susceptible to a flank from INTZ. They got eaten alive by DevilS. Both on attack and on defense, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah, honestly, been a really good one for INTZ so far. And speaking of, there's DevilS dragging out from CCTV.
Now, it was Zion that he lit up previously. It was the Capitao in the last round this time around. Could have the same gun in the hands, the M249, but obviously Gridlock is going to play out very differently. Same kind of denial, smokes as well. So it's a similar operator, but you're not going to have any access to him. Capitao survived till the bitter end in the previous round. You can't say the same for Zion's Gridlock this time.
Yeah, and, well, we're on the precipice of match point. It's just 1 round away, so this could be potential denial of a win for ReD DevilS. Though it's not there yet, necessarily. Maverick's going to start trying to trick this wall. That's interesting. Maybe to grenade in, or... I mean, it's going to allow for a really easy C4, but it looks like VNX is just trying to bait it out. Throw it late when he knows he'll land it. Probably the right call.
He knows the angle of these throwables that are going in. Oh, no, but VNX will miss it. Detonate it, won't lose any HP. He knows there's somebody out there, but that's a tricky angle to possibly go through. Intacts won't miss, though, and down goes Abrew. VNX traded off as there's a frag grenade, a second one going in, and if Intact dives in, well, then they're almost certainly going to collect a double. Mighty tosses it in, and he gets it. VNX fallen, unable to crawl out of the blast radius of that ordnance as it's tossed on in. You know, you've now got the wall inside of Office 2 with a minute to go. It's not terrible timing from ReD DevilS. They can begin to push onwards, but Cypress losing so much HP, and he loses Velvet next to him as he watches his teammate fall to pieces. leaving a 4v2 favoring INTZ, who will move to match point if they are successful in this round, and right now, it sure seems like that's likely.
Well, Cypress on low HP. Mighty on Buck. Can start to open up into... He just went straight through Passport into Custom. Well, he's trying to get into Customs. There you go. He did it. He got into Customs. So he's probably going to be cut down by the Roamer over by there in Highway, or not so, actually, as... Actually, I believe they just walked by each other. Whatever the case, though, life moves on. Cypress looking for an angle towards Archives. Not going to find the shot. Knows there's one playing close on that triple wall, but he's looking for him and isn't able to find him. Because it took 2 whole minutes for Red Devils to open up that wall, these last 2 players don't have a whole heck of a lot of time to work with. Brock's going to finish off Cypress. Mighty gets 1, but gets refragged by Boar, and INTZ will put themselves on match point, having a much more successful defender half so far. Things could change.
If he had more time, the Buck could have possibly went hunting inside of the back of Workshop towards the bathroom, but, well, you saw that there was the cam above him. That was being called out, and in addition to that, there wasn't an awful lot to go off of. They were info-starved, they were time-starved, and they were utility-starved as well, and Red Devils were essentially on the brink of elimination for 45 seconds, give or take. So we're finally going to see Ventilation and Workshop appear. It's going to come in round number 9 in our quickest matchup of the day between these two teams. And INTZ are primed and ready to get 3 very important points. They will vault on up to 3rd, actually.
If they manage to take it. I mean, it could be a draw if Red Devils go on a miracle run.
INTZ lost 0-7 to Team 1 in the very first matchup, and people were already writing the eulogy for INTZ. And instead, you now look at a team that bounced back by 7-0ing Immortals and then drawing Team Liquid and are now absolutely pulverizing Red Devils as well. And there are very few reasons for us to believe that they'll lose this. At worst, they draw, and they are amidst that log jam in the middle, as I called it, where everybody has the 4 points sitting in the middle of Latin America.
But even the odds of a draw here are...
absurdly low.
Yeah, ridiculously low. I do not see the same streak from Red Devils coming out like we saw from INTZ. Now, to be fair to Red Devils, they did also manage to win their first 2 defensive rounds, and then it was the following 4 rounds that INTZ managed to take on attack. So maybe we see a complete reflection in a draw, but it just, again, it does not seem likely based on the, how these teams have been playing.
I mean, neither of these rounds have been particularly close either, and I think that's the thing that, for me, that's the bigger deciding factor, is that you haven't been able to keep pace with INTZ. They have played you perfectly, and Red Devils have not been prepared for almost anything that they've seen.
Red Devils have been getting stopped every round at hurdle number 1. They don't even get to number 2, and that doesn't look like it's going to change. However, the Habana Excaros might detonate. The Electroclaw went down, but yes, just narrowly intact is going to be able to deny the wall. Good job to him. Nice reaction there on the Excaros. And that is going to slow down Red Devils significantly, forcing the Maverick to come into play here. And instead of trying to Maverick trick these walls, what they're doing is they're just Mavericking a hole so that the nades from the Buck can come in to deny the Electroclaw. And, I mean, it's not a terrible idea. It is slightly slower, and it means that you have to clear the ADS first, but it's definitely not a terrible solution if you're not comfortable Maverick tricking.
Those are duds who could potentially be throwing down ADSs trying to work against them. There goes an Electric Claw for intact, but he'll lose the wall anyway. It'll activate, being able to take out quite a bit of Excaros, so the passage on in for Red Devils might not be there. It's the head of the Jaeger, and oh, a beautiful shot from Velvet will come out, and that's a good way to open up this round. They've also taken a chunk of life away from intact. So, you're very close right now, on the precipice. Being able to move in, droned out is intact. He'll push up aggressively, knowing that he has to anticipate somebody coming on in through Armory Wall. They've conceded this spot. For the most part, INTZ have fallen back. Over by Jail is where VNX is going to be. He gets droned out inside of Customs, and he'll have to move back. We've also got the Bandit backing up intact with a Yokai drone there too. This is a lot of fight that INTZ is bringing to the Armory Wall, and Red Devils have not been able to get past it yet.
The interesting thing is that still presence inside of customs, which means that INTZ are going to have a crossfire on a B take. They also still have players upstairs, despite the wall being open, so they have vertical presence on a B take. There's yokai drones on a B take. This is just this doesn't look good for Red Devils. Despite having a man advantage, only 30 seconds for this execution, and the man advantage is about to go away if VNX decides to pull the trigger. He's being patient, and he's going to get one. Looks for the second, can't find it. Caution being his name right now, and intact. Also eliminate Mighty. Great position here for VNX, and it's going uncountered, which means he's going to be able to reap the rewards. And from above, Zion shuts down intact, but in a 1 versus 2, it won't be enough. And INTZ secure the match 7-2.
Nobody even noticing that VNX was positioned there. He got 2 kills very fast, holding the patience and holding the trigger in great patience, just waiting.
Yep.
Waiting for them to line up. They didn't give him what he wanted, but they didn't contest him after that. So he was able to get the Hibana and then look for the buck, couldn't collapse on that, and he got the gridlock